Constitution is very clear to say that everyone is allowed to operate a business just as long as they do it within the bounds of the legal framework that we have. Now, for a foreigner, it means you're coming into the country, you will get a business visa. You tell us exactly what you're going to do. We are going to source your things. If there's any localization which is required, we will then prescribe to you that localization is required in this particular sense. But with a special focus on spaza shops, that's where the jurisdiction of the municipality then goes into. The first one, which is important, is land use, to then say within the municipality, what type of business are you going to run? Is it allowed in that particular area? What's going to happen to your neighbors before we go into the health issues that are there? If you're selling food, for example, where are you preparing them? Where is it being stored? Is it done in a manner in which it guarantees its safety and its freshness? So all those are all the type of things that should go in to anyone who seeks to apply for a business and give us the assurance that once your business is operational, you will stick with the conditions that you have given you. So it is non-negotiables, because those non-negotiables are looking after the one important thing, which is the safety of the individuals or the safety of your customers.
Very interesting that you mentioned that, Mpumelelo, because one now wonders, does the Constitution clearly make provisions for, say, spaza shop owners, whom largely, let's say, foreign spaza shop owners who are in the country with either asylum seeker or more often than reported visitor status, or as we've seen in the recent reports, are actually in the country illegally through fraudulently acquired documents?
No, it doesn't, because if you are in the country as an asylum seeker, if you're in the country illegally, you're not supposed to run businesses, because the one thing that happens is that there's no way in which you're going to guarantee that the food or the product that you're providing is going to be safe. And there's no way of taxing you, because you don't even know that you exist. So at the end of the day, you are not even supposed to run this part of business or be operate. The shortfall in this case is the municipalities themselves that have enacted bylaws, however, have not taken steps to make sure that they implement them on a regular basis, which is why we find ourselves in the trouble that we're finding it now. If you can check every single municipality, there is a bylaw somehow that says businesses within the jurisdiction of this municipality are supposed to be registered. We are supposed to conduct regular inspections to make sure that everything is going okay. The city or city health officials are supposed to go in and make sure that even where you prepare the foods, everything is tested and everything is done according to what the standards are required, especially when it comes to communicable disease, which are transferred from one food to another. If you are going to have a restaurant that says we are selling a cuisine from another country, for example, then the question is, where did you get those ingredients? How did they come into the country? Have they been tested in a much more proper manner to ensure the safety and cross-contamination of any illnesses from one country to another? Those are the type of things that are there. And unfortunately, South Africa has been caught napping in the non-implementation of the municipal bylaws, which are supposed to be implemented on a daily basis by every single municipality.
So now let's look at the President's order, Mpumelelo, of 21 days for all spaza shop owners to re-register and re-document. What would this process look like legally?
It then says you go back to your council and you say to them, I'm operating a business within this particular corner. Here are the requirements in which I've provided. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a South African citizen, or I have a proper business license that was issued by you. I have all the consents which are required from my neighbors, for example, or any other permissible institution which then helps to regulate those type of businesses. And on that basis, you can come in at any time to check my establishment, and everything is going to be above board. If all those things are not there, then it simply means that business is not supposed to operate within the space. In terms of town planning, you're not even supposed to be there, because you are now destabilizing the planning of the land use that was allocated on that particular space. So it's going to entail then going back to the municipality and saying, let's meet each other halfway. These are the things that we are non-compliant with. Are you willing to consent to us operating these businesses up until we're able to fix those things? If the answer is no, it then means the municipality has every right to say, we are closing down this establishment, we're not going to continue with it.
You know, Mpumelelo, this has created a huge conundrum between local spaza shop owners versus foreign spaza shop owners, because the local ones are saying, why did the President there say all spaza shop owners and not specify that it was the foreign-owned ones that had to be re-registered and to check their legitimacy in this country? So this is actually my might likely create quite a political, a lot of political tension in the country as well.
Yes, it can, but you've also got to look at it in this sense. If the law that we have is not selective to say this applies to only foreign-owned businesses and local businesses. The minute you run a spaza shop, the minute you say to yourself, I want to be a product and service provider to the public, there are certain trading standards that have to be met, which are going to protect the health, safety of the public and those of your customers, and also the business, which is tax. So if you are going to come back and implement and say, this is what I want us to do in terms of trading, it must be done across the board. What the president was merely doing was to say, wait a minute, in South Africa, we have legislation that governs all of this. We have legislation which is supposed to prevent this type of sicknesses from taking place. I want to ensure that everyone is complying with those businesses, whether it is foreign-owned or local-owned. At the end of the day, there must be compliance.